and going to the chapel. It's never too late to live a dream. I'm going to share my journey to live out my never too late, turning an old church in a ghost town into a second home. Let's get started. Yes, and my marriage survived it, but by just this much.
And why is that?
We're going to tell you.
Yes, it's good. It's a good reason.
Oh, do we need to celebrate this, or do we need to go back to church for confession and say I can be a better husband? Anyway, much more on that. Good morning, everybody. I'm Reed Cowan.
And welcome back. It is never too late to do something you've always wanted to do. Gayle King went to space. We've had our viewers share their world travels, and today Reed gets to share something that you've always wanted to do.
Yeah, I have a love for this little tiny Utah ghost town. It's called Mighton. It's where my grandma and grandpa lived. Happiest days of my life. Two of the best people that ever walked this earth. You know, Mighton was once a boom town until something called the Mighton Mormon curse happened. It's a long story. You can Google it and look it up. But essentially, the town dried up, and it left behind some beautiful buildings to just rot. And that included the 1915 Presbyterian Church that the locals had all scraped together their own money to build. It was sort of a community center. Well, enter my sort of harebrained, never too late idea to buy the old church when it came up for sale and restore her to her former glory as a tribute to my grandparents and the great people of Mighton, Utah. Watch. There was just something about that old church out on Indian Highway, as the locals called it, in Mighton, Utah, that called to me. Knowing the old-timers, as we called them, built it with their own hands, money they had scraped together in leaner times and war times, to go to have a place to gather and a place to heal. But 101 years after the church was built, she was in rough shape. However, I drove past every time that old building near my grandma's house and thought, never too late. Outside, you can see the paint peeled, the bell and the bell tower shipped during World War I from Pennsylvania to Utah sat silent and still. And inside, eerie quiet, where songs once rose on Sunday mornings, it looked like a mess. Look at this. The old leaded glass window just hovered over pews sitting on red carpet, and the church was pretty dreary. So we bought it, and we got to work, inside and outside, giving the old place new life. More than one family fight, more than one need for stitches, and lots of hours put in. But we did it. My dad and I restored the old church. We got it listed on the National Register of Historic Places and welcomed back the locals. You are standing in the oldest surviving building in Duchesne County. We renamed the old place the 1915 Wedding Chapel and welcomed visitors from near and far to ring the bell that once called the locals to church every Sunday. Now, brides come to say their I do's in the old place that we made shine again. Never too late to follow a dream, to buy an old place and make it beautiful again, and never too late even for an old church in my Grandma Fernie's good old ghost town of Mighton, Utah. Ain't she pretty?
Gorgeous. Yeah. Why do you not have your own show on like HGTV? That is absolutely gorgeous. What I love about this too, Reed, is you did this with your family.
It was hard. And we learned a lot as a family about where we communicate well, where we don't communicate well. But I also learned something that's so true. I sold the church because I realized I had purchased it as a way to sort of get my grandma and my grandpa back. And I realized that the people we love and lose, they're not in things, they're not in buildings, they're not even in towns and places. They're right here in our hearts. That was the big lesson I learned.
And you did something really great for that community too. Now they have this gorgeous church to, enjoy for years to come. You said communication. There was a little bit of lack of communication on the day of purchase. Do you want to share?
This is the marriage part. I came home and said to Greg, so I did a thing. I bought a church in a ghost town. And he said, you did what? So it's always important to involve your better half before you go and sign on the dotted line to buy an old, dilapidated anything, especially a big piece of real estate.
Yeah, probably.
By the way, I sold it, and it's much better at home because I did.
And you're still together, so clearly it worked out. Absolutely gorgeous. You are so talented.
I love that sweet little church.
When it comes to putting it together, and a lot of heart.